I am about to let you in on a little secret. And that secret is, what are the best bourbons for a beginner? Well, cat's out of the bag, or at least it will be by the end of this video, because I'm going to tell you. Or at least, I'm going to tell you my opinion on it. Some may agree with me, some may not. It's a great thing about opinions. I think you know where I'm going with that. This video is going to cover the top 5 whiskeys that I believe are perfect for beginners. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I don't care, because I think these are the best. So first off, I really didn't have a price point in mind, but I did want to keep it below 50 because I believe there's some beginner bourbons that creep up in that range. And I get it. Beginners usually want to start off inexpensive, but sometimes you kind of need to reach for the stars a little bit. Now, I don't have anything on here that's crazy, that's allocated, that is too far-fetched for the normal person to reach. But I do have some that might be just a little bit hot for a beginner, but I still think they're necessary because you've got to have them as part of your collection. And what better place to start than at the beginning to have these in your collection? So even though I said there's 5 that I believe are top, I will have at the end a few honorable mentions, just because I think these are also too good to pass up. And if you can't find one of the ones that are on my top 5 list, maybe one of these other 3 in the honorable mentions might just slide in place of one of the other ones. So it's always good to have options. The other thing I want you to know is these are in no particular order. The price point, distiller, the flavors, the aromas, proof, none of that is going to be in any particular order whatsoever. So we're just going to hit the list, and I'm going to let you make the decision for yourself in the end if these are going to make your top 5 list. I really kind of hope they do, because these have become standards that I have to have on the shelves at all times. It's just a thing. And you're going to find, I think, that these are going to become standards that you have to have as well. So, first on the list is Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig is 94 proof and has a mash bill of corn, malted barley, and rye. And above all else, this is one that I just have to have at any given time. I believe I've even got a backup to my backup at some point, you know. It's just that good. The 94 proof is not hot. It's very approachable. And you're just going to find that you really enjoy it. I've got friends that really enjoy even higher proofs. And when they come back to Elijah Craig 94 proof, they still really enjoy it. It's just that good. And what you'll get with Elijah Craig is vanilla bean, fruit, and just maybe a hint of fresh mint. At least that's what it says on their website. I don't think I've ever gotten the fresh mint, but that's another thing, you know, on the nose. I don't really get a lot of those things that they say in the aromas. But I do concur that with the tasting notes, I do get a lot of the woodiness, the spice, the fruit, and maybe just a hint of the nutmeg that they talk about. But I also get some caramel out of it, just like you would your standard bourbons. This is to me, one of the epitomes of what American bourbon is all about. Elijah Craig comes from one of my favorite distilleries, Heaven Hill Distilleries. They produce a lot. They also have, in the Elijah Craig brand, they have a rye, a toasted barrel, a barrel proof, and an 18-year. This one happens to be somewhere between 8 and 12 years, but they actually don't have an age statement anymore. They used to, but for whatever reason, they took the age statement off, and I think it's probably so they didn't get in trouble for whatever. But again, this is one of those that you have to check out. It's the bomb. It just is. The next one on the list is a little bit higher on the proof range, and you will notice that little bit of proof if you're not used to it. Beginners will probably look at this and think that they're going to steer away from it, but I definitely wouldn't. This is one I would suggest that you cut your teeth on a little bit higher proof. This one is Wild Turkey 101. Wild Turkey 101 is, of course, 101 proof, just like the name states. This one has a mash bill of corn, malted barley, and rye, and they're all non-GMO grains. So if that's something that you're worried about, definitely you got to have that one on your list. So with this release, you're getting a blend of between 6 and 8 years. So you're actually getting something that's soaked up that oak, and it's obvious on the tasting notes. With the nose, you're getting a mix of vanilla and cinnamon. And again, the cinnamon I probably don't pick up. It might come off as ethanol to some people, but I do kind of get it. It's kind of there. So your nose might be different than mine. But like with all bourbons, I get that vanilla, that sweet caramel taste. I also get a lot of the oak and even a little bit of baking spice. The finish is of spice and orange peel, and it's a nice long finish that you're going to enjoy for quite a while. Just this is a great sipper. For the next one, we're going to switch gears a little bit and go across the pond. The next one on the list is Teeling Irish Whiskey Small Batch. Now, the reason I went with this is it is different than everything else on the list, but I had to add it just because it's another super approachable whiskey. This being an Irish, it's going to be considerably different on the tasting notes, but still have some similarities in there. This one is 100% malted barley and distilled in pot stills. And the proof comes in at 92 proof. So not hot at all. A lot different than that Turkey 101, but there's a good reason why this one's on this list. On the nose, you're going to get some sweetness, floral, vanilla, and just a little bit of allspice. It's got just a really beautiful nose. There's a lot of character in it, and you're always whenever you go back to the nose, you're always picking up something a little different, and it just draws you in. as far as an Irish, it's one of my favorites. As a matter of fact, I think it probably is my favorite Irish. Sorry, Jameson. I just don't have what this has. But when it comes to the taste, this has a creaminess to it that I have not found in any other whiskey I've ever had. It's just an amazing flavor. You also get bits of dried fruit and a little bit of spice in it. The finish is long, warming. It's just a nice hug. You know, it's hug from grandma, I guess you'd call it. You know, I mean, okay, that's kind of weird, but try it and I think you'll understand what I'm getting at. This is a release from Coolie Distillery in Ireland. And the age is somewhere around or up to 6 years in a combined blend. Check this out. Teeling Irish, small batch, fantastic. Just another banger right here. Now, as far as the next one goes, I'll be honest, I'm not actually a huge fan of it, but I know a lot of people that are fans. And for that reason, it had to be on my list. It may not be one of my absolute favorites, but occasionally I do favor it over some others. And it's just an old tried and true that you have to kind of consider when you're looking at getting into bourbons, getting into whiskey. And this one is Four Roses Single Barrel. Four Roses Single Barrel comes in at 100 proof. Again, a little bit hotter than some of the other ones, but again, I still think it's really approachable. Delving into those a little bit higher proofs, and these aren't even near as high as some of the ones that you could be getting into, but I think because they don't come off as 100, 101, that these have to kind of be in the list and something for beginners to kind of, again, cut their teeth on. So Four Roses has a mash bill of 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% malted barley. The age statement on these kind of varies. There's not an actual age statement, but you will get something between 7 and 9 years on the single barrel. Now their website says you're going to get dried spice, cocoa, vanilla, and maple syrup. I don't get the cocoa, but I do get everything else on the nose. And again, just another nice standard bourbon that you're going to find that all of these are going to have pretty much the same qualities when it comes to the aroma and taste, but some might be more standout than others. This one, I think the maple syrup is more of a standout than some of the other ones on my list. So that's going to be a nice change of pace as well. So along with all of those from the nose, you'll also get with the taste. Plus, you're going to get plum and cherries, although I get kind of a dark candied cherry instead of just a cherry, if you know what I mean. And don't be weird about that. That's not what I meant. So, I mean, taste what you taste, I guess. And then as far as the finish goes, it's going to be smooth and long, and you're really going to enjoy this one. And last but not least is Maker's Mark. Now the one I have is actually kind of a specialty one that I got from a deal I got a couple years ago. I don't have one of the standard offerings. So the standard offering of Maker's Mark is right around 90 proof. And I'm actually going to read this off of here that I wrote down because this is kind of strange, but this is what their mash bill reads. 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. of all the bourbons, I think my palate leads more toward the wheated bourbons. Wheated bourbons are going to give you a much sweeter taste than other ones that are leading down that rye path. They're going to be a little spicier. Some people disagree with me, but that's what I get on the palate. So, you know, like I've said before, your mileage may vary. It is what it is. With this, you're going to get an average age of around 6 years with them. On the nose, you're going to get sweet oak, fruit, and they say wheat, but I don't get it. Well, maybe a little bit. To me, it comes off more as dough, so somewhere in like the sourdough range, but that doesn't really. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe that's actually what I'm picking up, but I'm just not familiar with it. Again, these are the nosing notes that you're probably going to pick up, or at least look for them. And again, on that taste, you're going to get some really nice oak, vanilla, and a little bit of fruit. Again, the fruit to me is a dark fruit, possibly plum, possibly a dark cherry, something in that range, but it's that sweetness you're going to get that really just comes out and makes it a real lively drink. And as far as the finish goes, it's going to be extremely smooth and creamy with just a hint of spice at the end and maybe just a little bit of that bourbon hug that you would get. Again, just a great one to have. And I think all of these on the list are bourbons that, or are whiskeys, sorry, because there's an Irish in there, are whiskeys that beginners will enjoy right off the bat. None of them are too expensive. I'll go down the list here. I didn't give them before, so here it is. The Elijah Craig, that's going to be around $30. The Wild Turkey 101, that one will vary. Somewhere between 20 and 25. I've seen it actually as high as like 28. But still, that's a really good price for the quality of whiskey that you're going to get out of it. The Teeling, that's a little bit higher on the list. That's going to be around $40. I've seen it a little bit cheaper. I've seen it a little bit higher. The Four Roses, that one is an excellent price, or bang for the buck, I should say, at about $35. Then you got the Maker's Mark, and this one varies. And if anything, I would probably step up from the regular Makers to the Maker's 101. Again, hotter like the turkey is, but that one's a little bit tastier, and you do not notice that 101 proof. It just really goes down nice and easy. Those prices will vary somewhere between 30 and 40. The 101 could creep up a little bit higher than that. So those are the ones that you want to really keep your eye out on. But again, these are the ones that I definitely suggest picking up as a beginner. Can't go wrong with any of them. Now, as far as my bonus ones, got to grab them off the shelf. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Here you go. These are the ones I think that if you can't find those, pick one of these. First would be Old Tub. Now, again, standard tasting notes, just like you're going to get in any of the other bourbons. But this one comes in at 20 or less. I think when I picked up this bottle, I got it for $18. This thing's fantastic. This one has a proof of 100 proof. Again, does not taste like it. So look for this one as well. Next, Woodford Reserve. I'll be honest with you, when I first tried this, I didn't like it. And once I got down past the neck, I was like, oh, that ain't so bad. So that's another really good one. The proof on that is 90.4. So, again, very approachable, very smooth. Oak, caramel, vanilla. And this one I get just a little bit of tobacco and or leather in it. And I think that was why I really wasn't sure that I liked it at first. But it'll grow on you. Matter of fact, if you even want to step up from here, check out the double oaked. It's a chocolate bomb. I love the double oaked. And then third, this one is about $30. So, and I've seen it actually quite a bit cheaper. It's becoming even, well, it's always been readily available, at least any place I've looked. So prices are probably well under that $30 mark. So look for it. And finally, I had to have Old Forester on the list. This Old Forester fanboy just can't do without one. But I wanted to put it as an honorable mention just because I've gotten some flack over how much I talk about it. So, but another great one here. This one is, of course, 100 proof. Old Forester. Parent company is Brown-Forman. Just like Heaven Hill, they have just some killer products that they put out. And this one, when I looked it up, I was actually a little surprised. This one I've seen online for as high as almost 30, but when I picked this up, it was right about 20 or even maybe 18, kind of like the old tub. So there's quite a variance on this one. Don't let that scare you. Look around. These aren't near as popular as the Whiskey Rose series, so people tend to skip these. So you might be able to pick these up way cheaper than you even think. So with that said, those are the whiskeys that I think that every beginner should look into, should have on the shelf, and even some well-seasoned veterans in whiskey collection, tongue won't work, sorry. But I think these are whiskeys that everybody should have, not just beginners, but definitely have a beginner look into these, pick them up. You won't be disappointed, trust me. Again, these are some of the standards that I have. If one of these goes empty, I have to have another one. It just is what it is. How do you go wrong with any of these? I mean, argue with me about it. I'm sure there's going to be some that disagree, but, it is what it is. So tell me what you think. What are some of the bourbons or whiskeys that you think should be on the top 5? What were some of the very first bourbons or whiskeys that you bought and why? So please let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I want to thank each and every one of you, just like I always do. Long ashes and full glasses to each and every one of you. And we'll see you in the next video. Cigar went out. Screw it. I've worked hard today. Synthetic cork. They always work well. Struggling. All right. Cheers, brothers.